Welcome to the Crochet Business School podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Thomas, and I'm going to help you to make your crochet business dreams a reality, stitch by stitch, without you being chained to your hook and being able to live that lifestyle you've been dreaming of using the power of your crochet. What do you need to think about when it comes to your crochet business and your pets? So pets don't have to be an issue. And the issue only comes up when you're selling what you make. Otherwise, have at it. Show your pets on social media, talk about them, show them any way you like. There's really not much of a consideration to make apart from trying to make sure you don't have fur in your photos, which for me is a never-ending issue. I've got 2 huskies and I cannot get a photo without husky hair. So I just have to go with it. But if you're selling what you make, your pet's fur can cause an issue. There's lots of people with allergies, lots of people who don't like to see fur in items that they buy. Some people view it as unhygienic. And if you're selling baby items, parents do not want fur on their newborn's items. And first-time parents really, really don't want to see it. So, what do you do? How much of an issue pet fur causes, it depends on the pet. It depends on what measures you can take to separate your pet from your yarn. It really depends on how much fibre content your pet is adding to your crochet. So, how do you know if it's an acceptable thing? So if you have pets with no fur, you've got no issues. You can just go right ahead. The only thing is that you should never show your pet sitting on your yarn, or being in contact with your yarn. If you're selling what you make, that's an absolute no-no, because it will put your customers off. It's seen as being disrespectful and thoughtless towards your customers. Posting pictures of your pets is fine, just not in contact with your yarn. And actually, if you have furry pets and you're selling what you make, then being upfront and honest that you have pets is the best way forward. When having my crochet business, I've always had dogs. And I used to sell what I make. I don't anymore, but I used to. And when I first started, I had a collie called Meg. She was a lovely little collie dog, and she only shed once or twice a year. But you gave her a good brush, and she was all good, ready to the next shedding cycle. But keeping her away from my yarn wasn't difficult. She didn't shed that much at all. But I was honest on my listings, and I always said, the disclaimer at the bottom, that I do have a dog, and although I do my best to keep her away from my yarn, the odd dog hair may appear. And not once did I get a complaint about dog fur. I made tons of sales, but never once did I ever get a message or a complaint about dog fur. It never got mentioned by my customers ever. And so it wasn't a problem. Of course, I always made sure that whatever I sent out had, I gave it a good look over, made sure any fur was off it before I sent it out. And no issues. Fast forward a few years, Meg passed away, and I ended up with another dog. I ended up with a husky. Now, that wasn't my choice, and I didn't know much about huskies when I first got him. I say me. It was my now ex-husband who got him. But the amount of fur shedding was a bit of a shock. Fortunately, at that point, I was on the verge of stopping selling what I make, but Bo arriving was the final straw. because huskies shed like no tomorrow. It comes out of them like you would not believe. It's hard to believe that a single animal can have so much fur on them. I don't know where it comes from. It's like this Mary Poppins fur collection. It just keeps coming. That level of shedding is impossible to keep away from yarn. Husky fur is very fine, their undercoat is very thick, and it's very static. And it didn't matter what I did, I could not keep this fur away from my yarn. I mean, so bad that when he was shedding, I mean, they shed all the time, but they have like proper blowouts. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube videos. You'll see a husky in a groomer's and the fur is literally flying. That's not exceptional. That is kind of standard for a husky. And in one of these big blowouts, Bo lay down on my just hoovered carpet, had a nap for a couple of hours, got up, and there was an imprint in yarn of fur on the carpet where he'd been lying. Dog-shaped fur outline on the carpet. You cannot keep that level of fur away from your yarn. It's everywhere. And if you ever see any of my pattern photos, you're going to see fur on them. I cannot get rid of it. It is impossible for me to sell what I make with that much fur. And really, that's the line. Can you keep the fur away from your yarn? Some pets, it's impossible. I've got huskies. It's just not possible. And thankfully, I was giving up selling what I made at that point anyway. But, with my pattern photos, I still try and get rid of the fur. I can get rid of the worst of it. I cannot get rid of the fine stuff. And I just have to roll with it. I talk about my huskies. I, tell everyone I've got them. But they're pattern photos. It's not that big of a deal. I could never sell what I made anymore. I just cannot defluff my yarn. It doesn't matter that I keep it shut away. It's in drawers that are closed, and yet the fur gets in there. It's like it's a static attraction, and as soon as I open the drawer, just take a look at what yarn I've got to pick something new out, the fur flies in. And that's the consideration. That's what it comes down to. Can you keep your pet's fur away from your yarn? Can you stop it from having too much in there? The odd stray hair is fine. It happens. And as long as you have that disclaimer on your listings and you talk about your pets on your social media, you're covered. It's fine. But if you have this level of shedding issue that I've got with my huskies, then it becomes too big of a problem. I mean, plenty of crocheters have pets, and plenty of people have no issues with this. It's really about keeping your customers informed and having a disclaimer on your listings, on wherever you sell your crochet, being upfront that you have pets, maybe talking about them on your shop bio, talking about them on your social media is going to pre-warn customers so that they know. Because people with allergies would like to avoid buying from a business with pets, and it's far better to be upfront about it than to get complaints later. Because these complaints are going to be, I don't want it anymore. It's giving me an allergy. I don't want to have to deal with getting rid of it. I want a refund. You will pay for not being upfront and honest later on. And like I said, I sold plenty of items of my crochet and never once had a complaint about my pet, about anyone having any reaction to it, anyone finding any fur on there. It was never an issue. It never came up. And I think just having that disclaimer on your listings is all it takes. People are fine with it as long as they know. And you don't have to fear it. You will still make sales. Most people are reasonable, and if they didn't realize that you had a pet, they may go back to your listing, check it, and once they see that disclaimer, they go, oh, it's my fault not for reading. Many people buy without reading descriptions properly, but most people, when they find an issue with something they bought, they go back to the listing to see what they miss in the description. And they go, it's right there. So it will not be an issue. It's not something you have to worry about as long as you have it mentioned in the description of your listing. And it's that simple. Just making sure that you give your crochet a good look over, a good defluff before it goes out. Make sure there's no obvious hair on there. Both your own and your pets. I don't know about you, I've got very long hair sometimes, and that can be an issue. So just checking everything before it gets posted out, giving it a good brush down, that is all it needs. And just keep your pets away from your yard as much as possible. So over in the Hooked on Success podcast, I'm going to be talking about some tips to keep pets away from your yarn and any other considerations that you may want to take into account. If you want to come and join us, then you can click the link beneath the podcast in the show notes or go to crochetbusinessschool.com/success and you can access that episode right now. So thank you for listening, and I shall see you next time for the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Crochet Business School podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes, and please subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Crochet Business School. Subscribe to the channels because I would love to hear from you and what you're up to in your own crochet business. If you have any questions about creating and growing your own crochet business, please send them my way, and I'll answer them in future episodes. So thank you for joining me, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye for now.